Long time no talk. It's been about a week and some change, maybe a week and a half. But I have some exciting news and also just some updates as to what's been happening. So 3 things I want to update y'all on is, first off, where have I been? And really sharing my first God conscious miracle that happened. Second is that I put on my Death to Distraction workshop, my first one virtually last night. And then the third thing I want to share is someone who played a part in the God conscious miracle and rendering those services and making sure that I didn't falter, I guess you could say. So first and foremost, this God conscious miracle, I'm like, do I want to give you all the short version or the long version? But it's been also a long time since I've talked to y'all. And also this is just documentation of the process. And for the future intern that I'll have to be watching this, who will have to download this, synthesize this, and we get to repurpose this for future content. Not sorry. But this is a really important moment, actually. These are 3 big important moments that we're going to be talking about in this live. So first and foremost, this God conscious miracle. Well, first off, what does that mean? God conscious miracle. Love in action. That's the best way I can say it, is love in action. And so what that looks like to me in this experience, it being my very first experience of being like, is God real? And seeing them come at the 11th hour and it actually working. So I'm mind blown, but not mind blown. Like, I get to come here and I say I have evidence with a conscious effort that it worked. So the situation is that my partner was on a book tour. They just launched their book called One Box, and it's about balikbayan boxes. And for those of you who don't know what that is, that's basically a box that Filipinos, especially for those who have immigrated to different countries, we would send boxes back of things that our families back home may need. So it could be some simple things as canned food and goods and clothes and things of that sort. Things that would just help them with day-to-day life. But the take that my partner took on it was, how can we put things into these boxes with intentionality for these promises of reunification, that we'll be together again to share these memories together. So for instance, they had things in there like roller skates and jewelry and things of that sort. So anyways, one of their tour dates was in Vancouver. And so as I visited them a couple times ago in Montreal, our conversation was like, where should we go to next? The book tour wasn't quite ready yet at that point, but we were said, like, let it be Vancouver. Okay, cool. Didn't know how that was going to happen, why that was going to happen, but that was a place that we wanted to meet up in. Great. Okay, so then they put Vancouver on the tour date. Awesome. And so we had a plan A as to how that was going to happen. But as time continued to go on and as life is happening, I was like, I don't know if plan A is going to happen, but I know that God has plan B, and I don't have to worry about that. So that was just in trust and in practice, because that's what we're learning, right? For those of us who are in the faith or who are believers, like, there's this practice of active faith. And so it's not really focusing on the how, and we're leaving that in the hands for God to figure that out, but it's more in the why, like, why do we want to go? So I was like, okay, plan A may not follow through, but what can I do? What can I do? What am I in control of that can make sure that plan B, whatever that may be that God has planned, can work through? So I started doing everything on my end to make that happen. So the first thing I did was I packed my backpack. I looked at the weather in Vancouver and I was like, great, it's going to be rainy and cold and dreary. Yay, I cannot wait to be in this place. The second thing is that it feels really dark in here, and I'm like, I should get some light. So wait a second real quick on that. Yeah, I don't like that light. I don't like that. Okay, whatever. There's that. Yay, we love yucky yellow light, but that's okay. It's better than what it was. Okay, so that was the first thing I did, was I packed my backpack. The second thing I did was I started following a whole bunch of Vancouver accounts, and I muted everybody else. I was like, I just want to see Vancouver. If I'm going to be on social media, I just want to see Vancouver. And it looked pretty. All the colors of the leaves were changing. Great. Then the third thing I did was I woke up in the middle of the night when God told me to, and just started working on my website. The fourth thing I did was, I can't remember, but I remember, what did I do? Oh yeah, he told me to like pass out all of my flyers in the neighborhood. And that was silly of me because it was like at night, and I felt like a creep and like a weirdo, but I was like, ugh, this is nerve-wracking anyways. And so anyways, I just started becoming obedient. I was just like, just tell me what you want me to do and I'll do it, despite if I felt like it was going to make a difference or not. So I did those things. The very last thing I did, so their event was on Sunday, and this was already Friday night, and I was like, I don't know how this is going to happen. I was like, what's like the next thing I can do? So that night, as you can see in my most recent video, there's a video that's black and white, and I was kind of showing the back end of that, but just for documentation purposes, and also for the future intern who's going to have to watch all these videos and download them and figure out how we're going to repurpose this in the future. Sorry, not sorry, but I really, really appreciate you. So that night, I started writing down the agenda, like what would be the plan when I made it to Vancouver. And that's language, right? It's like, when I make it to Vancouver, what is our plan? So I was like, okay, gonna arrive at this time. We're gonna have, brunch with friends. We're gonna go to the event. We're gonna then have dinner with friends. Then we're gonna go get drinks, and then we're gonna go home. And then the next day, we're gonna have brunch with friends again. We're gonna go find a coffee shop. And then I even wrote down the coffee shops that we could potentially visit. And I was really on the hunt of a ube croissant. So I was like, we're gonna go get this ube croissant. And then I started writing down all of the coaster times, and I started looking at all of the flight times. And so I was like, this is option A, this is option B, this is option C. And I just wrote down everything that I may have needed to know just to get to Vancouver. And so that was the very last thing. That was the very last thing I did the night before. So then now it's Saturday. Or no, that was Thursday night. So then now it's Friday, and I was like, oh my gosh, I still don't have tickets. Okay, what else can I do? So then I just listened, and I was like, So I already started getting to know my neighbors and saying hey, I'm here to help, whatever you need, these are my services. And so there was 2 people that I was like, if anyone can give me the resources I need, I think it would be one or 2 of these people. So I went to the first person, and and I'm like, this is day up. This is 11th hour stuff, right? Event is on Sunday. And so I was like, something needs to happen. So I was like, I'm just going to go figure this out and be awkward about this. So first prospect didn't quite work. We did come up with something that might be something I could help with, but not right then and right there. And then the second person I went to, that required a whole conversation. And long story short, I ended up getting paid in air miles in exchange for helping them start a podcast. So because it was air miles, they're telling me hey, this may or may not work, because the way that air miles work is that there's probably not going to be any seats or any flights. It's literally the day before you want to fly out, which is Saturday, because the event's on Sunday. And let's just see. And so mind you, this person is much older, and there was a little bit of what are my passwords? What's my email? What are my things, right? And I'm just like, oh man, I'm just going to tell you I met with them at 12 p.m. And for us to make this happen, go all the way through, was till 4 p.m. So literally at the 11th hour, God showed up, so I'm just like, whoa, this is crazy. This is my first God conscious effort of being look, you say to have active faith, you say to dig your ditches, to plant your seeds, and to already give thanksgiving and gratitude that it has already happened. And to also not waver during the 11th hour. That's where most people give up. That's the image in my head, is that when you are on the internet, there's this guy who's digging a mine, and the mine is right there. He needs to do just one more hit. but one miner gives up and he walks away and the other miner keeps going. So I'm like, okay, like if this is for real, like this is what's gonna happen. And so God showed up at the 11th hour, and I was like, whoa, okay, this is real. This is real. This is like, and it's like, of course, like as a believer, you're like, it's like, it's real, but now I have evidence. And so I was just really excited. I was like, oh my gosh, it actually worked. So all these little things that I done that I was in control of, and having faith and having thanksgiving and having gratitude and standing there and not accepting anything less but more, and also at the 11th hour still showing up, but also I think a part of the science behind all of this and the practice of all this is letting go at the end. Just be like, you know what? At the end of the day, yes, do I want to go? Why? Yeah, of course I want to go. If I don't go, is it the end of the world? No. It's, so it's like at the end of the day, I was just like, you know what? If I don't go, I don't go. It's not meant to be. That's fine. And so I think that untetheredness and that unattachment towards the result or the outcome is when for me, you allow God to work. And so I was like, cool. And it worked and it happened. And so now I have evidence, and that's really, really exciting. So I ended up surprising my partner. I got there at 4:30 and they didn't get there till 1 of Sunday morning. So yeah, I waited for like 8 hours, and as they were exiting the terminal place, I surprised them. And we did Vancouver, and it was dreary and cold, but it happened, So I think that for me and myself, I was like, wow, that's incredible. That's amazing. And now what other things can we come up with, and what trouble can we get into? So that's really exciting. And so I just wanted to sit here in evidence and also in documentation form, be like, look, real. For me, real. This was real. This happened, and that it works. And I want to remember this moment, because I think when it comes to being in relationship with anybody, or with God, or with anything, with higher intelligence, power, source, spirit, whatever, it could get really easy to get comfortable and to not want to continue to pour into this relationship. But this is kind of like first date stuff, right? Like they're like all excited, like, wow, what? Like this is amazing. And so then of course you want to upkeep this, but eventually I can already predict myself, that's a part of it. You waver and you go in and out and you ebb and flow out of relationships. But like, I want to remember this moment and be like, this is what it looks like when we're obedient. This is what it looks like to walk closely with God. This is what it looks like that, when we're untethered and unattached, like cool things can happen. And so I just feel so grateful to finally experience it consciously, and to sit here in evidence that they're real. And that's just so cool and so affirming. And I just feel so much like at peace because of it, because I'm like, wow, like as long as I do everything that I can in my power, then I can let go of the rest and know that I don't have to worry about the how anymore. And that's so relieving, because I think systemically this country tries to convince us to always know the how. And that can be disabling to some extent, right? Like when you think about when we were younger, like in kindergarten and high school and college, like they're always asking us, like, what do you want to be when you grow up? What's your major? Like, what are you going to do after you graduate? What is it that you do? Like they're constantly asking us the same question in a different way. And I don't know about you, but I remember those moments being like, I don't know how I'm going to get there. Whatever it is that has been put on my heart of what I feel like who I'm supposed to become in this moment or in this mission. I remember feeling overwhelmed and being like, how am I going to get there? And so now I'm in this place of this continuous like spiritual development. I'm so relieved to know that I don't have to worry about the how. All I have to worry about is what I'm in control of and what I can do, and also being obedient in that practice. And so I'm just like sitting here in evidence and gratitude to be like, okay, this whatever this source is, this spirit is, this life force is, whatever you want to call it, I can sit here in evidence and say that it's real. And I just want to document this for future reference, for the times that I'm feeling doubtful, that I'm feeling fearful, that I'm feeling unworthy, that I'm feeling like I'm crazy probably, and that the dreams that have been put on my heart may seem too big. But at the end of the day, that's none of my business, and that I have to continue to be obedient and following and holding their hand and following that path. So that's the first thing I want to give an update for my future self. Second thing I want to update for my future self is that we finally we finally put together our Death to Distraction workshop at the very last minute, by the way. Don't tell Jules that, because I know Jules isn't watching this deep into my live anyways. But yes, so want to say thank you to Jules, our bio, been, in community with each other for over a decade since I started YouTubing a decade ago. And I just am so proud of us to come this far now. And now that we're at a place where we're able to collaborate and show each other's communities the things that we're doing. So the thing that they showed and shared with mine is my Death to Distraction workshop. That has been on my heart for since the summer, and more so for 4 years. So putting on this workshop last night, all the while being sick. After coming back from Vancouver and hosting my partner and having to do San Diego and Long Beach and stuff, and moderating that event, yeah, I got a little bug, you know what I mean? But thankfully, because of all of our routines, our health routines, our spiritual routines, and getting back to it, it was a quick bounce back. It was less than 3 days. So thank goodness for that. But this workshop and putting it on was such a monumental moment for me, because as imperfect as it was, I had to remind myself, just make the first pancake. The first pancake is always going to be a little Willy Wonka and kind of weird and misshaped, but we did it up into the hour. So like I said, don't tell my business sister that, but I was like, girl, literally before you pressed record, I said, and I think the presentation is done. It wasn't to my standards, but I said, make the first pancake, let's get it going. So as you can see in my last live, I basically brought you all on to see the first pancake of that workshop. But what was really cool about the creation of this workshop, y'all, I literally started maybe 2 hours before, because I was kind of trying not to be me. I'm in the process of breaking the habit of being myself, based off of the audiobook by Joe Dispenza or something like that. But yeah, I'm breaking the habit of who I've always been. And who I've always been is very meticulous and detail oriented. And as much as I love that version of myself, she can get a little too meticulous and a little too detail oriented and a little bit too much of a perfectionist. And so I kind of put pressure on myself to be like, you know what? I'm going to get into my morning routine. I'm going to get back into just my rhythms, and I'm really going to spend some time with God, because my spirit felt so depleted. I truly felt I just truly felt like I was dead inside, and I was like, oh man, we need to take care of this first before doing anything else. And so I gave myself maybe 2 hours to create the presentation. Thankfully, so this is just some evidence too, thankfully, whatever work we've already done prior will somehow lead into the work that we're doing now, which is always relieving to hear. And so thankfully, earlier this year, I did a failed business decision. And I had already created a master template of Death to Distraction, but at the time it was called Daily Digital Decluttering, and it was already in my Canva. And that's when I was trying to use school as a platform, so it was already in there. So I was like, okay, yeah, we're just gonna copy and paste that, and we're just gonna change the logo, and we're just gonna make it happen. Thankfully, before doing all that, I went on a walk, because I was like, look, after all of this journaling and reflection, I need a walk. On my walk, I was already imparted on me, this is how the workshop's going to go. And that was a 20-minute walk. I was like, thank goodness, because I didn't know how we were going to do this. So it was great that we were able to make the presentation, go into it. And again, I was just just get it done. Don't be like your old self and make everything all perfect and meticulous and how you want all of the effects to look and all that stuff. You can do that later. Let's just get it done. Show up on the workshop and do your best. And I think what I got out of that experience was, how do I explain it? That everything that I need to know is already in me. And that, again, the breaking the habit of being myself is that it's I'm already prepared for those moments, So I didn't rehearse that. When my sister said record and we're on the workshop, I was like, that was just after so many years of this already percolating in my heart and finally having an outlet for it to live in. So the fact that got done, now tonight I'm going to jump into the workshop and I'm going to make it like my personality likes it. But it's done. And now I have something tangible that I can now bring to people who put on workshops and host workshops and conferences and things of that sort, and be like, hey, I got this gift for you all if you want it. And would love to obviously exchange in that way. So that's number 2. The third thing and the last thing I want to share is that today is day one of just feeling better and working and doing the things. But now I have to render the services for the person who paid me in advance through airline tickets. And so full transparency, I just had a feeling that things felt unclear. And this person is, let's just say, they're as old as my parents, you know, and my parents are older parents. But they're sharp, and I appreciate them for that. But they've been doing business practically their whole life. And as someone who's just doing it for the first time, I was like, oh, this person's going to have something to say. So there was a little bit of avoiding, but also I was sick. And I was like, I don't want to get you sick. I don't want to get anybody sick. But the moment I walked in, you know, because we had a time, they're literally a neighbor at that. The moment I walked in, they had their ammo ready. You know, they had their ammo ready from whatever they needed to share with me. And yeah, they were just doing their thing. And I was just trying really hard to like not let my personality or my emotions to like get the best of me, you know, a little bit of a fire sign. I was like, oh, you're coming in blazing right now. And I don't appreciate this. And so I'm just like super proud of myself that I just stayed calm the whole time, and that I just expressed like, hey, like I want this to be fair. Yes, we probably didn't follow the best practices in terms of didn't get all the things in writing done and all that stuff. We were excited that we were being able to have a moment, a gift, to share a gift and make this dream happen. But like also, can I finish my statement? And also, we're going to talk to each other respectfully. And also, we're going to breathe through this. And also, I'm going to let you know I'm feeling a little defensive right now because of how you came in blazing right now. So it's like there's all these levels of all of this like work that has been happening since I've been here in this space in Leucadia. So I'm just like, whoa, like, ask me this a year ago, man, this conversation would have been completely different. But I just feel so grateful to take the time to like, to pause and to breathe and to just really assess like who I want to be in this next season. And the fact that this person showed up in a conversation that could have gone a completely different direction, because this person is definitely like, they try to have their way however they need to have their way. And I just was like, nah, fam, like, we don't talk to each other like this. You know what I mean? Like, this is not how this is going to go. Like, we're going to find a fair middle ground, a fair situation. You know, I was like, I'm a neighbor. I'm not trying to do you dirty. But also at the same time, like, you know, like, let's find a middle ground and, like, make this happen, you know? And so I will say this for future reference, for documentation purposes, always have clear expectations before working with somebody. Making sure it's written down in writing, and like you know that, but like because we were in the midst of making this dream happen, that was the case. And and yeah, also know that you have something to bring to the table, and like just because someone's so much older than you, so much more experienced than you, it doesn't mean that you don't have something to bring to the table, and that you can stand up for yourself too. So yeah, so basically this is the tension. Because they're so old school, they are wanting to charge me hourly. And I'm like, I don't know about you, sweetheart, but we're at a place where, at least the way I'm trying to do business, I'm not getting paid hourly. We're getting paid for years of experience. So what she actually wanted from me, I did in 3 hours. I'm going to sit here and say, I folded because I want to make sure. I folded in terms of finding a middle ground of hourliness, okay? Because again, at the end of the day, it is my first client. At the end of the day, my service, like I haven't rendered the services, but I already got the payment. So it's just like all in good faith, like how to do business in good faith. You know what I mean? But I'm remembering this feeling. I'm remembering this feeling as, not being taken advantage of, right? And remembering this feeling that like any person I do business with, you're doing business with the years of experience and the hours that I've put in for the service that I'm providing at this point. You know what I mean? And this one particularly is helping start a podcast, you know? Now, is it going to be extended more than I would like? Yeah. But this is evidence, this is practice, this is mistakes, these are first pancakes. Let's just do it right and be like, do it right and do right by others early on, make the mistakes and make it happen. So those are all the updates. I'm super proud of you. Super proud of you for showing up. I'm super proud of you for all the work that you've done previously and that you were able to show up in these last 3 interactions the way that you have. Like all the work, all the subtle work, all of the deep rooted work of pulling out these weeds of all of these false beliefs and identities and like all this stuff. Like it has taken some time, but like these moments right here are the moments where they're actually showing up. And I'm just so proud of you for you starting when you did. And that can be a whole different conversation, but starting when you did and like not waiting until these moments show up, you know, like, and so I for anyone that's watching, like when it comes to the deep work in any aspect of our lives, whether it's mental, whether it's emotional, whether it's physical, all of it, like start now. Like there's literally no better time than now. And that could go into a whole other conversation, but like it's so cheesy, but it's so true. Like all we have is right now. And so the more that we prolong that kind of work, mind, body, spirit, like keep it simple, mind, body, spirit, mind, body, spirit. Like that's basically what encompasses what it means to be human today. If we continue to prolong any aspect of that and put it off till later, we don't know if later is going to come. And if later does come, and you could have been doing the work between now and when later, the later opportunity approaches, or the later conflict approaches, or the later whatever approaches, then you dug your ditches now. You planted your seeds now, you know. And these are not just seeds of like of flowers. These are seeds of like trees, of like pillars in our lives. And so I'm just like, man, like sometimes I wish I could tell my younger self, start sooner, start sooner, start now, you know what I mean? But it's like, you know, this started way probably sooner than it should have. I've been doing personal development since I was like 12, and that comes as a double-edged sword as a young person. But, you know, whoever's watching this now, find your truth now, you know, just start now, whatever that may look like. But just know that as a human being, mind, body, spirit, like start now. Because you never know, watering, like planting those seeds and watering those seeds and tending to that garden now and how that's going to show up later, you know. So anyways, younger you, good job, awesome job. Even if it was younger you 6 months ago, younger you 6 years ago, younger you 16 years ago, so proud of you for starting when you did, because now you're able to serve people the way that you do serve people. And also proud of you for being a moderator. Okay, I see you. Yeah, that's definitely a space and a role that I actually really enjoyed, and something that I would like to be in more spaces in that role. And also kind of learning the difference between like a host, a moderator, a facilitator, and language. So my brain is bursting, which is a good thing. There's a lot of expansion in the brain of interest, and now it's really about figuring out how to read faster. And my best suggestion is reading and listening at the same time. But anyways, thank you so much for watching. Again, for those who so happen to just watch to the very end, you're so sweet. Thank you so much for your time and attention. But please get off now so you can go live your life. Okay, I'll talk to you tomorrow if something awesome and amazing happens. But these 3 things were big, and I'm just gonna sit in gratitude in that. So, all right, I'll talk to y'all soon. Bye now.